Disclaimer, all stunts performed in this video are done in a controlled professional environment where no one is able to get hurt.
Moment of truth. Sheesh. And that pump's loud. Dude, what's good, y'all? It's your boy John LSX, and today we're gonna continue on the SEMA build. We're gonna be installing the fuel cell, the lines, the filter, and the pump itself. I'll show you guys how to do the wiring, the pump installation, the filter installation, and also the fittings, because we gotta get this truck back and running. As you guys saw in my last previous videos, we went ahead and removed the stock fuel tank, the fuel lines, and we also went ahead and installed our TVSS intake manifold with our 102 millimeter throttle body from Evo Energy. And then today is the day that we're gonna get started on doing the whole fuel system upgrade. Anyways, with that being said, let's get right into it. This right here is going to work for a 1990 to a 2006 GMC Sierra, Chevy Silverado, and this is basically the diagram that I drew out for you guys so you guys can save money, stop taking your trucks to shops to get it done. I'm basically teaching you and giving you the knowledge for free. So the first things first, we're going to talk about the fuel pump, the OEM connector. This is a connector that connects to the OEM fuel pump that's inside of the stock fuel tank. The connector looks something like this. It's oval shape, it's black, and it has 4 wires. So I'm going to explain to you guys what those 4 wires are and what do they do, you know? So, okay, on D4, we have a black wire. This is a black solid wire. This is gonna be our fuel pump ground, okay? So this connects to the negative side of the fuel pump. So if you grab your Evo Energy fuel pump, this blue connector right here, this is gonna be your ground, and red is obviously gonna be your positive. If you guys don't know, here it is, positive, negative. So the black wire is gonna connect right here to the blue side of the fuel pump, which is your negative. Now B2, which is a gray wire, is gonna be your fuel pump power, which is positive. You're gonna connect that to the red side on the Evo Energy fuel pump, right here. So the gray wire is gonna connect to the red, which is your positive. Now right here, you're gonna have a purple wire. This is your fuel level sensor signal. It's your signal wire. It's basically gonna send the signal to the computer and also gonna send the signal to your gas gauge to let you know, hey, do I have a full tank or am I running on E? Okay, you're gonna have a black wire. On that black wire, you're gonna have a white line or white stripes. That's gonna be your fuel level sensor reference. Basically, these two are gonna connect to a connector. They work together. They send the signal to the ECU and also the signal to your gas gauge to let you know, hey, am I balling? Do I got a fuel tank or am I broke and I'm running on E? And these 2 wires will connect to the fuel cell of Evo Energy. And those wires are gonna be a green wire and a yellow wire. So you basically connect them together. It doesn't matter which way you connect them. The polarity, it does not matter. So you could connect either or. You could connect the purple wire to the green wire, or you could connect the purple wire to the yellow wire. It does not matter. As long as it's connected and the floater inside the Evo Energy fuel cell is gonna go up and down depending on your fuel level. And that's gonna let your gas gauge, your OEM stock gas gauge know how much fuel you have. All right, now that we covered this section right here, let's go down right here. So the connector looks like this. Your D pinout is gonna be a black wire. Like I mentioned, that's gonna be your fuel pump ground. Your C connector is gonna be a purple, which is your fuel level sensor signal. Your B pinout is gonna be a gray color, which is gonna be your fuel pump power. And then your black and white wire, which is going to be the fuel level sensor reference. And this is what the connector looks like. And I also labeled right here, OEM fuel pump connector. If you guys have any questions regarding this stuff right here that I covered, 1 and 2, comment down below and I'll DM you, or you could DM me, and then I'll help you guys out. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Evo Energy fuel cell. So we are gonna be using a 15-gallon fuel cell. On the bottom of the fuel cell, you're gonna have 2 bong fittings, which is -10. So you're gonna have one right here, -10, another right here, that's -10. And then on the top of the fuel cell, you're gonna have another one right there and another one right there that's also -10. So let's go ahead and talk about our feed. This is the fuel that's gonna be feeding to the fuel pressure regulator, out the fuel pressure regulator, onto our fuel rails. So let's start right here. So right here, we are gonna be running a -8 PTFE fuel line, which is our feed line. In order to run that PTFE feed line, we are gonna be using this adapter right here, which is a -10 converted into a -8. So this connects on the bottom of the fuel cell, which lets us use our -8 fuel feed. So once you have that connected, you're gonna need a fitting. So we are gonna be using one of these fittings right here. So grab your -8, connect our fitting, connect it, and then right here, we are gonna need our 8 PTFE line, which is this one. All right, so now we have a line running through here. We're gonna grab our 100 micron fuel filter, which is this one right here, 100 micron. Remember that the arrows always point towards the engine for your feed, and the arrows back to the fuel cell. The last filter connects straight back to the fuel cell, so it points towards the fuel cell itself. So grab your filter right here. We're gonna be using a -8 for the inlet and -8 for that outlet. All right. So line goes in, line goes out, -8 onto our fuel pump. Now we're at our fuel pump. I went ahead and explained to you guys how we're gonna be wiring it up with the blue and red. Same deal, we're gonna have -8 in, -8 out. Go ahead and put your fittings on, make sure they're nice and tight. Same deal, we're gonna be using a straight for an inlet, a -8 for our outlet. Line right here going in, -8, line right here going out, -8. Onto our next filter, which is our 30 micron. Remember, the filter points towards the engine. Same deal, another straight, -8 inlet, -8 outlet. Line going in, which is -8, line going out, which is -8. Arrow still points towards the engine. Now we talk about the fuel pressure regulator. Now, when it comes down to a fuel pressure regulator, same deal, we have -6 at the bottom, -8, and -10. We got a higher spring rate also in the kit included for high PSI fuel pressure and the gas gauge. So now the fuel has to get to the fuel rail. So right here, we're gonna install a -8 because reminder, our feed is 8. Go ahead and install an 8 right here. Has to regulate right here in the middle and it has to come out. So let's say we have 100 PSI going towards the fuel rails. It has to regulate. Once it regulates, you have to have fuel coming out. Another -8 right here. Remember, we're using 8 feed, 6 return. Then we're gonna connect this end straight to the fuel rail, which is another -8 right here at the fuel rail. Whatever fuel is not being used, it has to go somewhere, you guys. So what you gotta do is grab your fuel pressure regulator. On the bottom, right here, we have a return. This means whatever fuel we're not using has to get sent back. It has to go back somewhere. So we're gonna go ahead and install our -6, because remember, we're using -6 as a return. So feed 8, out 8, return 6. There's nothing to it. So now our setup should look something like this. Yes, we do have to install our gauge so we can regulate the gas. Now that you're done, your setup should look like this. If you're using 8 feed and 6 return, in, out, return, 8, 8, and 6. We have a pressure gauge in the middle that we still have to install, and it goes literally on the center. And your setup should look something like this. So now let's go ahead and talk about our return. So our return is 6. That means we have to add another filter. So now we have fuel coming back to the fuel cell because whatever's not being used has to go somewhere. So it has to get returned back to the fuel cell. So on the bottom of the fuel pressure regulator, this is gonna be a -6 return. So we have line coming from the fuel pressure regulator from the bottom, going down, all the way to our 10 micron. And remember, this is where things change. The arrow is not gonna point towards the fuel cell because the fuel is going back to the fuel cell. So right here, same deal, we got our 6 now instead of 8. Go ahead and connect your straight, 6 inlet, and then on your outlet, go ahead and connect another 6 straight going back to the tank. So your setup should look like this. Now that we have the fuel going back, so now we're gonna use another adapter, which is gonna be 6 to 10, and this connects on the bottom of the fuel cell, right next to the 8. So now I went ahead and explained our fuel feed and fuel return. Now let's talk about our vent. Remember, there's gonna be a lot of gas pressure inside the fuel cell. It has to go somewhere. We don't have an evap canister anymore. So what do? So on the top, like I mentioned, you have 2 caps that are capped, they're blue. They're both 10. So you do need to install a 10 AN vent check valve. And luckily the kit comes with everything needed. Go ahead and open it up. Here's the part number, and I'm gonna leave all the part numbers down in the description below. So if you guys wanna purchase anything, everything will be linked down in the description, and also my employee discount code so you guys can save. So this right here is our check valve. Basically, it's a one-way valve. You can blow air through here and it will come out to the top, but you can't blow air from the top and nothing will come out from the bottom because it is a check valve. So if you blow air through here, air will come out. Vice versa, you can't blow air to the top and nothing will come out towards the bottom. But we're gonna be installing a check valve at the top. Now this is gonna be -10 AN. This will go on top of the fuel cell. This -10 will connect to the top and then a line, and wherever we wanna route this, make sure the arrow is always facing towards the top. And that's basically it. People like to put filters, which is what I'm gonna end up doing. And there you go, that's how you do it. And there you have it. That's basically everything that you need to do to install our Evo Energy fuel cell. The fuel cell that I'm using is gonna be a 15 gallon. We are gonna be using a total of 3 fuel filters, 1 pump for now until I get the turbo set up. We are gonna be running a double pump controlled by a hot switch. And when it's time to do that, I will be explaining to you guys the same deal, how to install it and everything. But if you guys have any questions on how everything works, just DM me and I'll show you guys.
A few moments later.
So now that I went ahead and installed the fuel pressure regulator right here on the firewall, check it out. It's not going anywhere. We're gonna be started on the feed. Basically, we need a -8 fitting right here where the fuel is going to go in. So let's go ahead and grab our -8. Make sure that right here you have your seal. Go ahead and screw it on. Grab your AN wrench. Make sure it's nice and tight. Don't want any fires, any leaks, any fires. Go ahead and install the fuel pressure gauge so you guys can see. Take this out, it's held on by a 5mm. Go ahead and grab your gauge, put some Teflon tape, screw it on by hand first. Remember not to over tighten it because it is aluminum. So now let me do the explaining. So the fuel feed is gonna go right here, regulate, and then we're gonna have our fuel coming out, which is gonna be also a -8. Grab your -8 fitting, same deal. Make sure that you have your seal around the fitting itself. And it is gonna connect on this end. So now we have our feed, regulate, feed out, which is -8. Now on the bottom, we are going to be using a -6 return system. So what you want to do is grab your -6 fitting, make sure that the O-ring's at the bottom as well, and place it at the bottom. And there she is, nice and tight. So now we have our feed 8, out 8, return 6. We have the gauge right here. This puppy's not going anywhere. Now the next thing you want to do, if you're running a TBSS manifold like I am, or you're running one that just has the feed inlet, you will have a stock fuel line. You will have an inlet right here for the fuel rail. So let's go ahead and remove this clip. You are going to be needing your quick disconnect tool. There you have it. Should look something like this. Now Evo Energy does offer the adapter as well. Here's the part number if you guys want it. Here's our adapter. You just want to go ahead and slide this on to the inlet of the fuel rail until it clicks. And now I'm able to know how long or how short I need to make that line. And that's exactly why I installed the TBSS manifold, because without it, I wouldn't know. I would be just guessing. Went ahead and made my line that goes for the fuel pressure regulator right here to the fuel rail. Made it nice. And then this one right here, our feed is just dangling down on the bottom. I still don't connect this line to nothing. Like I mentioned, I just have it hanging down there for now. But so far we have the fuel pressure regulator hooked up. The only thing we have to do is do the return, which is our 6 AN, and then shoot it straight down as well. And then we can finally start mounting all of our brackets, our pumps. As you guys can see, we have one filter, a pump, a filter going straight to the fuel pressure regulator. And then our return, we have another filter that's gonna go straight to the fuel cell itself. All right guys, little update. Basically what I'm doing now is just drilling onto the frame, and then I'm tapping it and putting a thread insert. Let me show you guys what it looks like. This one right here. So I can install the fuel pump, which is going to sit just like this right here with the brackets. We only have one filter installed so far, then the pump, one more filter, and then it's going to connect to that line down there, which is our feed. And then we still have to add one more filter towards our return. But so far, I just wanted to give you guys a little update. Basically, how this thing works is you go ahead and drill it, and then you want to go ahead and get another drill bit, which is a little thicker, same size diameter as your thread insert. Go ahead and drill it out. Place your thread insert inside. With your tool, you're gonna go ahead and squeeze it. Once it's nice and squeezed, it won't move, it will stay in place. And then you're able to install the fuel pump with the hardware, which is this one right here. Go ahead and thread it in with the bracket and the fuel pump, and then it's gonna stay in place. So that's basically what I'm doing, just drilling out the holes, putting the inserts, mounting the brackets onto the stock frame rail itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how this mechanism works so you guys get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Go up next, what I got to do is install 2 more filters, one for the feed and then the one that's going to be headed towards our return. All right, Chess, so I ran into an issue. Unfortunately, my drill, where I want to drill the holes, this catalytic converter is in the way, and on the top I can't reach it at all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop this catalytic converter off. I'm gonna chop it right here and then also chop it right here so it's not in the way. And since we're not gonna be using this stock exhaust system anymore, might as well cut it. So let's go ahead and cut this puppy right off. And if you buy catalytic converters, tap in. I'm about to have one for sale right now. And there you guys have it. We installed the last filter for our feed, which is our 30 micron from Evil Energy. Came out beautiful, can't complain. Check it out. And the reason why it's not straight is because I needed to clear the cross member from the transmission. As you can see, we're gonna need a line going right over here. And if I were to put it straight, it's gonna interfere with the cross member. That's why I have it angled up. And then we also went ahead and installed our Evil Energy inline fuel pump as well. And then also our 100 micron fuel filter from Evil Energy. So all the filters and pumps for our feed is completely done. So we're gonna start with the 30 micron and work our way towards the back, because that's just the way that I started. I started with the fuel pressure regulator first. Now it's going to be the filter, then the pump, and then the filter. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that the arrow is pointing towards the engine, which I know it is. Make sure these 2 fittings that we're using, -8 and 8, are nice and tight. Go ahead and install your 45. If you're doing it the same way I am, it may be different on your application, depends on how you're installing your Evil Energy fuel cell. But in my case, I'm installing it just like this. We're gonna cut somewhere around this area right here. Like I mentioned, I don't want it too stretched, pulled back, where the vibration might cause a leak. Give it enough space, measure it. And I say somewhere about right around this area right here. Go ahead and grab me some tape so we can mark it. I want to make sure I have enough clearance. I don't want the line rubbing or hitting anything. Right here is exactly where I want it now. It's gonna fit perfectly fine. So now what I gotta do is disconnect it from the fuel pressure regulator and then cut it outside, put this fitting on, and then reinstall it exactly how I had it. And then after that, we're gonna work from our straight that is gonna connect from this end all the way to the front of the fuel pump. And then repeat the same process behind the fuel pump towards the first filter that connects from the fuel cell. All right, guys, check it out. Went ahead and finished making this line. We have our 90 right here, and we have our 45 right here. This is the end that's gonna connect to the fuel pressure regulator right here. Goes down to our 30 micron, and it's gonna be connected with this 45 on this end. Connect right here. Now on the back of this filter is gonna be a straight to here, to the fuel pump, to another straight. Right here is gonna be a straight and a straight. Right here is gonna be a 45 to a 90. Check it out right there, that's gonna be the 90. And down there on the bottom is gonna be the 45. And that's basically what you gotta do. Just repeat the same process. Measure, cut, add your adapters, measure, cut, add your adapters. I'm gonna go ahead and finish doing all the feeds real quick. It's the same process, nothing changes, same concept. Put your fitting, flare it out, put your ferrule, put your top hat, tighten it up with your A and wrench from Evil Energy, and you're ready to go. Fuel cell all bolted up, nicely tight, not going anywhere. So far I went ahead and completed our feed, which is -8, goes all the way down to our first fuel filter, which is the 100 micron, then the fuel pump, and then the last one is going to be the 30. Goes all the way up to the fuel pressure regulator right here. This is our feed. It's going to regulate, and then the fuel's going to go out straight to the fuel right there. The last thing on the list to fire this bad boy up is going to be our return, which is -6 under the fuel pressure regulator. It's going to go down to a filter. After the filter, the line is going to go all the way straight, all the way back, and then up onto the 6AN right there that's empty. And as soon as I finish with that, it's time to do the wiring for the fuel pump as well, so we could turn it on with our stock ignition. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, no leaks, no issues, no nothing. And then we're gonna wrap this video up. But with that being said, let's go ahead and finish our return. So I have the return right there. Don't mind it, ahí nomás está chilling. So I'm basically gonna route it from the bottom towards the top now, because as you can see, está todo como spaghetti. And then we are gonna connect that, which is our return, like I mentioned, on the bottom of the fuel pressure regulator. One hand, baby. And this one is gonna connect, like I mentioned, towards the bottom of the fuel rail right here. Ahí va quedando esta macana. Check it out, check it out. Yes, sir. Look at that. Don't mind the zip ties. That's just temporarily. Mock-up. The only thing you have to do, you guys, like I mentioned to you guys for the trillionth time, is the last line that's gonna connect towards the top of this filter right here, which is our return, all the way towards the back on the fuel cell. And there she is. The lines and filters and pumps all done and complete. Then we have to wire up the fuel pump itself and then turn this puppy over. Hopefully there's no leaks. Hopefully it doesn't catch on fire. Hopefully I don't burn down the house. Pero ahí va, ahí va, ahí va. Ain't nothing to it but to get to it, my boy. Okay, though, you guys, check it out. We have the feed, the return completely done from the fuel cell all the way to the fuel pressure regulator. Both lines. I'm running a 6 return with an 8 feed. We have the 100 micron, the 300 LPH pump. We have a 30 filter on the top, and we have a 10 on the return as well. Ahí quedó, nicely routed all the way to the bottom of the fuel cell itself. So up next, what we got to do is wire up the fuel pump. And like I mentioned on the diagram, we are going to be using the gray wire, which is your positive, and the solid black wire, which is your negative. These two right here. I went ahead and depend them from the connector, but the only ones we're going to be using for the fuel pump are these two. And now the other two, the purple and the black and white stripe wire, that's going to be for the floater that's inside of the fuel cell to let you know how much fuel you got in the tank. But these two are the ones we're going to be wiring up and hooking up to the fuel pump itself. I'm going to go ahead and wire the fuel pump up and then give you guys an update on how I did it. And there she is, boys, nicely wired up. Your black wire is going to be your negative, the gray wire is going to be your positive, and then on the pump itself it says where's your negative and which one's your positive. And it does come with all the hardware and the boots, so you don't got to go out and purchase those separately. No, they are included in the kit. Like I mentioned, your negative is going to be your black wire, your positive is going to be your gray wire, nicely wired up, and the remaining 2 wires, purple and then black and stripe, is going to go onto the floater. But I'm not going to hook it up right now. I'm gonna just leave it here, and then your tuner could delete this one right here. All I have to do next is go out, get some fuel, check for any leaks, regulate the fuel pressure regulator to 60 PSI, and crank this puppy up. And hopefully there's no leaks anywhere between the lines or the fittings, none of that. If everything's done correctly, it shouldn't be a problem turning it over. Anyways, I'm gonna go out and buy some fuel real quick, throw it inside the fuel cell, and then hopefully it cranks over. All right, let's go. Test it out. Moment of truth. Sheesh. And that pump's loud. that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. As you guys saw, I went ahead and teach you guys how to install our Evo Energy Master Fuel System Kit. From the lines, the fittings, the pumps, the wire connection, all that good stuff. The truck turned on perfectly fine, no leaks. But with that being said, make sure to hit that like and sub if you're new to the channel. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.